Hey guys, Paul here from Impulsive Culinarian, and in this video I want to talk to you about my gluten-free meatloaf recipe. So you remember guys when we started this fall recipe menu series, right? It was warm outside. I had windows open, not anymore. Have a look. Yeah, there's no denying it. This snow might just be here to stay. Right? There's a chance it'll melt, but definitely time to end the fall menu series. Suffice to say, winter has definitely arrived. All the more reason to wrap up the fall menu series with a really good home cooking recipe. I love meatloaf. Guys, if you like it as half as much as I do, you definitely want to try this recipe. Now, there's a lot of different people making a lot of different recipes for meatloaf. Now, I want to insist that you guys give this one a try because I have a really strong feeling you will not be disappointed. Here's what you need. All right, so let's talk about what you're going to need for the meatloaf main ingredients. A good recipe starts with bacon. Yes, sir. 1 pound of butcher bacon, which I'm going to cook in the oven. 1 cup of toasted breadcrumbs, of course, gluten-free. Now, you can use 3 slices of normal-sized bread. If you're using those tiny little Udi breads or whatever, you might need 5 or 6 slices of that instead, so you're going to toast those up. 1/4 cup of dairy-free margarine. Then we're going to do a mirepoix. We need 1 carrot, 2 celery sticks, and 1 medium yellow onion. Then you're going to add 3 garlic cloves, finely chopped. And lastly, you need 1 pound of good quality medium ground beef and 1 pound of good quality ground pork. And then you wrap that up with 1 egg. All right, now let's talk about the meatloaf seasoning ingredients. You're going to want 2 tablespoons of sugar, 2 tablespoons of ketchup, 2 tablespoons of Dijon Mustard, 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire Sauce, a teaspoon of Kosher Salt, and around 1/2 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. All right, now lastly, let's talk about the topping ingredients. You can't make a meatloaf without slathering it in a beautiful ketchup-y kind of a sauce, all right? So here's what you need. 1 tablespoon of sugar, 1 tablespoon of ketchup, around 1/2 tablespoon of red wine, and 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard. I am salivating just thinking about this, so hurry up, let's get cooking. Sous chef. The furry 4-footed kind. Anybody? So the end of fall, right? The beginning of winter. First snowflakes have just hit the ground. Nothing better to warm up your kitchen, guys, than a meatloaf recipe, especially a gluten-free meatloaf recipe. So first thing you want to do, preheat your oven to 400 degrees because we're going to cook some bacon. Next, you want to get out a couple of large baking sheets and line them with parchment paper. Oh, butcher bacon. That's one of my favorites. I would say this is my kryptonite, okay? So you want to lay out the strips of bacon in both of your sheets, evenly spaced so that they're not touching each other. All right, there you go, guys. A little army of bacon strips ready to go in the oven. So when your oven gets to 400 degrees, guys, take those pans, put them in the center rack, put them in for around 15 minutes and check them for doneness. You want them to be nice and crisp. If they look like they got a little bit of fattiness to them, let them go for another 2-3 minutes until they're cooked all the way through. So with your bacon in the oven, now you want to toast up your gluten-free bread. I'm out of homemade bread, so I got to use the Udi ones. I'm going to make around 5 or 6 pieces of that toast, but if you're using normal sized bread, 3 should do the trick. So there's my gluten-free toast, guys. I'm going to give that a pulse just to get it down to size. I want to make room for the bacon that's going to come soon. Pulse away! Oh, I think it's ready. Let's take it out. Come on, look at that. It's perfect and just so easy. 15-20 minutes in the oven, done. There you go, no more fatty pieces. This I'm going to let cool for around 5 minutes. It's going to crisp up just a little tiny bit. Then I'm going to get that in the food processor with my breadcrumbs. I've already blitzed a little bit. So now that your bacon is out of the oven, let it cool for 5 minutes and reset your oven to 375. Now, of course, it's already going to be there, but set it to 375 anyway. And with the time that it takes you over the next few steps, it'll cool down just to the right temperature. Guys, as tempting as it may be, do not eat the bacon. Don't do it. Put it in the food processor. Now, I promise I did not eat any of that bacon, guys. It's cooled off just for a couple of minutes, and it's going to be perfect. Let's blitz that together. This here is some good stuff. Blitz away. Bacon breadcrumbs. Okay, get this into a clean, medium-sized bowl. Oh my goodness. This stuff is so delicious, guys. It's practically a sinful treat all on its own. Really, really good stuff. You know, go ahead, try a spoonful. You'll see what I'm talking about. All right, so get the bacon and breadcrumbs out of reach so you are not tempted to eat the whole bowl. Okay, get a non-stick skillet and get that heated up over medium heat. So next, while your pan is warming up, get yourself a couple of stalks of celery, a good-sized carrot, and a medium yellow onion. Peel them and clean them up, but don't have to chop them because you're going to put them in the food processor. Okay, so give everything a really rough chop, just big cubes like that. Get it all in the food processor. All right, now the goal is not to blitz this. You just want to pulse it a few times till everything gets into these nice, small, coarse little pieces evenly throughout. Quick pulses. So there's the consistency you're looking for, guys. A nice coarse chop and even pieces throughout. Beautiful looking mirepoix. So let's get that and the margarine in the hot skillet. So get yourself 4 generous tablespoons or around a 1/4 cup of dairy-free margarine into the hot skillet. Next, in goes the mirepoix. So you want to stir this occasionally and cook it for around 10 minutes just so the onions and the carrots are nice and soft. So next, guys, you want to get 3 or 4 big cloves of garlic and give them a nice chop. Looks like the sun decided to come out, right? So once your mirepoix has been sauteing for around 9 minutes or so and it's almost done, that's when you want to add the garlic just to cook it for the last minute. All right, so once that garlic is done cooking, get yourself a large mixing bowl, add in the mirepoix and the bacon and breadcrumb mixture. All right, stage 1 complete. There you've got your mirepoix and bacon and breadcrumbs into the bowl. Mix that together just to let everything cool, and then get on to the next step. Now it's time to add the meat. Get your beef, your pork, and your organic egg. 1 pound of ground beef, and 1 pound of ground pork. And 1 beautiful organic egg. So this is the base of the meatloaf mixture. Now we're gonna add some seasonings, starting with 2 tablespoons of sugar, 2 tablespoons of ketchup, 2 teaspoons of real Dijon mustard, 2 generous tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. Now just a note about this, guys, if you don't have large grain sea salt or kosher salt, then use a 1/2 teaspoon of regular tiny fine salt, okay? Otherwise, 1 teaspoon of kosher will do the trick. All right, now guys, you can use a spoon if you really want to, but the best way, and the absolute best way, is with your hands. That way you avoid having any big pockets of pork or beef or anything. Everything is nicely smooth and combined because you can feel it. So, get your hands dirty. So those of you who follow my channel know that when I make my bread, I always use the larger 9x5x3 bread pan. Well, we're gonna change it up. For once, I'm using this smaller pan, okay? This is the 8.5 by 4.5 by 2.5 bread pan. You don't want to use the bigger one, you want to use the smaller one, okay? Sorry to change it up, but that's the right size pan for this recipe. So you want to line your 8.5 by 4.5 by 2.5 inch bread pan with a small piece of parchment paper, just like this, to line the inside. You don't have to worry about the ends, just to get that bottom larger section. So to avoid having any pockets of air or anything like that in the bottom of the loaf, and you want a nice, complete, solid loaf of meat, what you want to do is take half of this mixture and get that in the bottom of the pan. Press it in just to make sure that there's no spaces down there. Then you want to take the rest and pile it on top and push it in gently. All right, so the bottom half is intact. I'm sure that there's no spaces down there. Now I'm going to put the rest of the loaf on top. There's a nicely formed meatloaf, guys. I'd say that's ready for the next step. So we're almost ready to cook this meatloaf, guys. Get yourself a small bowl and get the topping ingredients in there. Remember, only use wine that you would drink. All right, so then get a little barbecue brush, guys, whisk those ingredients together and brush them on the top of your meatloaf. This is ready to cook. But before you put it in the oven, guys, you definitely want to take a baking dish, line it with tin foil, and put that meatloaf pan in the center. The reason for that is the loaf is not going to grow, but the juices that come out, depending on the fat content of your meat and the bacon that's in there, there's going to be some overspill. So catch all of that in the baking dish, and the tin foil just saves you the cleanup later on. Okay, guys, so let's get this meatloaf in the center rack for 1 hour and 15 minutes. Now, just to be on the safe side, I strongly recommend that around the 1 hour and 10 minute mark, take an instant read thermometer, get it into the center of the meatloaf, and check to make sure that it's come up to approximately 160 degrees. That's the time that you want to take it out of the oven. All right, guys, so 1 hour and 10 minutes has expired. So just 5 minutes before the cooking time is supposed to be done, I'm going to get my instant read thermometer, put that in the middle of the meatloaf, and see where it's at. So close that up fast. My thermometer reads 145, probably would have made it up to just shy of 150. So that means the 1 hour and 15 minutes for my oven is right on, but every oven is different. So that's why I recommend just before the cooking time is done, give it an instant read, see where it's at. You want to get it to 160, 155 and rising. Okay, my 1 hour and 15 minutes is officially done. Let's get it. Oh, gorgeous. So that meatloaf as is, just really hot to handle, okay? So leave it there for 20 minutes, let it cool down. Once it's manageable, you can take it out and put it onto a plate that's lined with, I would say, 3 or 4 ply of paper towel, so that you can put it on there and let the rest of the grease sort of drain out and just to dry off a little bit. Once it's on that paper towel lined plate, leave it there for another 10 minutes. So it's a whole half hour of cooling so that it can get nice and solid and sliceable. And that's the way you want to serve it after a half an hour of resting. Oh, excuse me, who are you? Do you like meatloaf? Yeah, I think that's a yes. Hey, what about you?
I love meatloaf.
You love meatloaf. Do you like meatloaf?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Here, sit there.
Meatloaf has bacon in it. I really like bacon. I love meat and fish.
Okay, Cassie and Sam signing off. Say bye-bye.
Bye. We're teenagers. No, we're not.
You're not teenagers yet. All right, so when your 15-20 minutes has expired and it's cool enough to handle, transfer that meatloaf into your paper towel lined plate. And there you have it, guys. A beautiful meatloaf, cooling nicely on a paper towel so all of that excess grease gets out. Okay, you just want to get out as much as you can. Trust me, it's going to stay nice and moist. It's fully cooked just to 160 degrees. And man, I cannot wait to slice into that. But you got to let it cool another 10 minutes or so. Okay, so in true impulsive nature, I can't wait. There's another 7 or 8 minutes left, but I just want to slice into it right away. So I'm going to transfer this carefully onto a cutting board. Okay, now that it's on the cutting board, all bets are off. Get your sharpest knife and get yourself a 3/4 inch slice. Wow, guys, you definitely want to add this to your fall recipe arsenal. An incredibly delicious gluten-free meatloaf recipe, all right? I highly recommend that you try it. And when you slice it up, make sure to get them nice and thick, 3/4 inch to 1 inch minimum. The more, the better. Guys, my name is Paul from Impulsive Culinarian. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have, be sure to hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. This is the last edition of the Fall Recipe Series. Well, the telltale snow outside tells me it's time to get ready for the Christmas Recipe Series. Right, that'll be the next one coming out next Saturday. And of course, join me every Wednesday, guys. It's Wines Day right here in the Impulsive Culinarian kitchen. I opened up a brand new vintage. There's so many new, incredible wines on the block. I don't even know where to begin. All right, so join me on Wednesday for the live broadcast here on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Christmas series coming up. I'm not even trying to think of something witty to say. I'm just eating. I'm like 5 bites in. Try it. It's got bacon. It's delicious. Guys, you're going to love it. I know you're going to love it. Give it a shot. Like a good book.